Welcome to Female Fluence. We are a place of women empowering women. This is a safe environment where females are not judged nor afraid to flourish. My goal is to help you live an energized life of balance, whether as a mom, a wife, or in your profession. It is time to have self-worth and self-compassion. Live in the present moment and surround yourself with only healthy connections. So join me, Promash Shua, a woman empowerment life coach, an educator, and a mother of three, to help take you on a journey of true identity and inspiration. Have you caught yourself trying to fix your husband? Maybe it's how he drives, what he wears, or even how he expresses his love to you. As wives, we often try to control things without realizing it. When we choose trust over micromanaging, we actually create space for a more profound, more connected marriage. Our husbands want to make us happy, but that desire thrives in an atmosphere of respect, not control. In fact, wives initiate nearly 2/3 of all divorces. We've been taught that marriage is a 50-50 partnership. But what if that's not the full picture? In today's episode, we are diving into a wife's enormous influence in shaping her marriage. As an empowered wife, you can cultivate a marriage built on respect, love, and lasting passion. My guest on today's show will teach us how to be an empowered wife. Laura Doyle is a New York best-selling author of the book The Empowered Wife and the host of the Empowered Wife podcast. She often says, "I was the perfect wife until I got married." Like many women, she believed she knew best and sought to improve and change her husband until their marriage was on the brink of divorce. That's when she discovered a life-changing approach that saved her relationship and actually helped countless other women do the same. Now Laura is on a mission to end world divorce. She founded an international relationship coaching school and has helped thousands of women transform their marriage using the 6 intimacy skills. Her work has been featured on the Today Show, Good Morning America, as well as The View. But her greatest achievement is actually her joyful 35-year marriage to the man she once thought she needed to change. Laura, welcome to Female Fluence. I'm so honored to have you on my show today.
Oh, thanks for having me. What an honor.
So I am so excited. We're going to dive in. First of all, I have this book here. It's incredible. I have a few books that are always on my nightstands. And this is going to be one of those books that when I'm having a rough day, I have it highlighted, I have it bookmarked, I have done everything. So I truly recommend, maybe after everyone who listens to this episode, they're gonna feel the same way. You have helped 15,000 women to fix their relationship, but there was a time that your relationship was on the brink of divorce. What was happening and how did you change everything?
Because I was perfect until I got married, right? And
Like all of us, right? Like all of us.
right, right. I thought, oh, he's great. Just a few things. I just want to help him be more ambitious and help him be tidier, and also I could show him how to be more romantic, and then he'll just be
I'm right
perfect.
there with you. I think we all do
It's
that.
nice to know I wasn't the only one. And of course, as I'm telling you now, this will totally make sense. He grew distant. He really wanted nothing to do with me. He was watching a lot of TV, and he didn't seem interested in talking to me. He wasn't interested in car rides or snuggling or any kind of physical intimacy. I just remember feeling really devastated, really crushed that he didn't want me. And so I thought, okay, well, there must be something wrong with him. It can't be me. But I knew what to do. I dragged him to marriage counseling because I thought then the counselor can fix him and then I can finally be happy. I really just thought if he would just do all these things I was telling him, like everything would be fine because I didn't know any better. So we did go to marriage counseling for over a year and we spent many thousands of dollars. And I remember being on the counselor's gray couch when I realized this is hopeless. He's never going to change. We're too far apart. I'm going to either spend the rest of my life in a loveless relationship or we have to get divorced. I have to get divorced. So I decided I would go through with it. I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to get divorced. I don't want to, he leaves me no choice. And there was just one problem, which is that I was too embarrassed to get divorced. I knew I didn't want the loss of status, right? People had been to the wedding like not that many years before. And so, as a last ditch effort, I asked women who were happily married what their secrets were. And I remember thinking they're going to say, well, you have to pick the right person, and they didn't. They said things that sounded so foreign to me that I thought they were crazy. Like nothing I'd seen my parents doing. And my parents are divorced. They were divorced when I was a teenager, so I think I might have been following a failed recipe.
Right.
So I thought, okay, I have nothing to lose. Like we're having wall-to-wall hostility, or we had these cold wars where there was no talking for days, and it was just super tense and uncomfortable, like awkward roommates at my house. And so I thought, I'm going to just experiment with their crazy ideas. And I started doing that. And not long after that, I walked through the door, the front door. I opened the door. And when he saw me, his face lit up. He was happy to see me again. And I had been gone. So I thought, oof, there's something to this. And I was so excited because I thought, now I'm going to be able to have the kind of marriage I always wanted to have. I'd wanted that so bad. I wanted a great marriage. And because now I know what to do. And we won't be having those big blowups in the car anymore. And, we'll be able to have peace and sleep in the same bed again and things like that. And it was not that long after that, we were driving in the car and we had that big blow up. And I was saying horrible things to him, and he was saying horrible things right back. And
Were you telling
I
him
was
how to drive? Like
I
we all,
mean, I was telling him how to do something. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure. It was like the same old, same old.
I know I'm
And
guilty of that too.
right, right. I was so crushed because I thought this was not going to happen anymore now that I knew what to do. But I was having a hard time doing what I knew I wanted to be doing. And it wasn't that the new way was so hard. It was just new. And so I had this idea that if I could get my girlfriends to start doing these things with me that I had learned from these wise, happily married women, that it would make them stick. Like I needed like a little support group to kind of keep me on track. So I did. I recruited like four of my girlfriends who were also complaining about their marriages, and we would meet in my living room, and they started reporting miracles. It was crazy. Like everyone's marriage really picked up. And someone said, "Hey, can you write down what we're doing for my cousin in Florida?" And we're here in California. And I said, "Sure, I'll write that all down." And I did. And that became my first book, the New York Times best-selling book that started the whole thing and started kind of a worldwide movement of women who practice the
Yes.
6 intimacy skills. Yeah, and started so 19 languages, 30 countries. And now here we are, almost 25 years later. I'm still practicing those intimacy skills, not perfectly, but yeah, over 15,000 women from a lot of countries all over the world have found that this has brought them passion and playfulness. It's restored that to their marriage. They feel like their marriage has never been better. And, I have the marriage of my dreams now too, from getting to, I guess I have like a larger support group than what I started out with. Now I have thousands of students and hundreds of certified coaches who are all enjoying shiny, amazing marriages as a result of these intimacy skills and the community of women who practice them together.
That is just, I mean, I'm blown away by this method. It's not like these skills are so difficult. It's kind of like just common sense that we have forgotten. I think maybe we just use that with strangers or, at the very beginning when we're dating and we're shy. But once we get comfortable in our old ways, we forget this method of just being just respectful and being kind and the way we speak to one another. I remember there was a section in the book that said like, think about like how you step into a waiting room, like in a doctor's office, how you treat that stranger. You treat them with more respect than you treat your husband that you've been with all these years. It's true when you think about it. we do. We take the relationship for granted. I think that's the biggest problem. And then once we get so comfortable, we've just throw respect out the door. And then, the other thing, the other problem I feel like is that as modern women, we are, trained, or it's just pushed through us to us from society that we need to wear this armor, and we need to go to the work and our corporate office or whatever we're doing to prove. We like to constantly prove that we are strong, we are masculine, we are independent. So when we come home, we're still wearing that armor, and it's very difficult for us to take it off and bring our femininity out and being nice and be able to receive from our husband. And we feel like, I mean, even things as simple as, I think, like, I've been carrying groceries, and then my husband will be like, oh, let me help you. And I'm like, no, I've got this, because I
Yeah.
want to, like, prove that I'm strong and I can
Yeah.
handle it, instead of saying, here you go, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I relate to that so much. I love the columnist and writer Connie Schultz said that before she would let her husband make her a cup of coffee, she wanted to make sure that wasn't going to affect her right to vote and own property, right? Like we've been kind of trained, like, just do everything yourself.
Everything.
You can do it all. And that, I mean, it was an exhausting way to live, right? They're like trying to do everything. And there were two reasons that I wanted to do everything myself. One was that whole, I had that upbringing of, you got to get your education, got to get a career. You don't want to have to depend on a man, was part of it. But then there was this other part of me too that just I thought I was smarter than my husband. I thought I had more common sense than he did. And I wanted everything done the right way, which would be my way. So I was like trying to show him how to do things my way all the time. And of course, he was never going to be a good Laura, right? He can only be a
Be
good John.
himself.
And he does do things totally different than I would do them. And it's been astonishing to see I guess like the magic or the alchemy that comes out of really being receptive to my husband. Like the example you gave, right? Like letting him carry in the groceries. I say like letting him, but like being willing to receive that
Yes.
versus just being like, no, like, no, they go over there or whatever, letting him do things in his way and how well that serves us. Thank goodness I wrote this book, the first book about this because there's like there's a more recent book outlining the six intimacy skills now. But when I wrote that first book for my friend's cousin in Florida, I went to my husband. I said, I think there are at least 2,000 women who'd be interested in this. And he said, okay. He goes, well, let's publish this book then. And like we self-published. He like husband published it for me. And I was like, okay, cool. We printed 2,500 copies. And I remember it got picked up in the LA Times, and that got like it went on the wire. It got a lot of press all of a sudden, and we sold out that first run really quickly. So I was like, okay, John, like let's print some more books. Okay, let's go. We got to print some more books here. And he was like, he didn't think that was a good idea. And I was so mad. I'm like, no, like we're out of books. Like people want to buy it. You're like, you're going to ruin my chance of having this book be successful because you don't think we should print more books. But his perspective was that we had something special and that we needed a bigger publisher to give it all that it deserved. And I just wanted to steamroll him so bad and just be like, no, we're printing more books, like forget it. Because I didn't know how we would get a big publisher and I was scared, but he wasn't scared. And so together we went and figured out how to get it like a literary agent, and the agent brought it to a bunch of big publishers. And my editor Doris Cooper from Simon and Schuster, total visionary, saw the value in it, and Simon and Schuster spent a year with me rewriting the book, really making it organized and teaching me how to speak about it so people would understand the value. And of course, that's how it became a New York Times bestseller. But it was only because the book,
Because your husband had a vision for you. And
he had a
if you
vision.
had just gotten mad and didn't even listen, you would have not been, what you're doing right now.
That's right. We wouldn't be talking right now, Pearl. And I mean, I did not want to hear his vision. I was afraid. I wanted to just steamroll. But because of the nature of the book being about respecting your husband and stuff, I thought, okay, I better
You're
at
like,
least try.
okay.
All right, I'll at least pretend. And it got me out of my comfort zone. I was like really terrified of all of that. And I've been terrified ever since, really, like even going on those shows like The View and Today Show and doing like speaking in front
That's
of
so
live audiences.
exciting, though.
It was
That's
very exciting. But yeah, I can see where it was felt safer to be the armchair
yes,
critic of my
because
husband's
you're getting
life.
out of your comfort zone. But that's the time that you're just, you're growing and you're becoming bigger when you're able to do that. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. I couldn't be more grateful looking back that I had to stretch and do some terror, have that free floating terror until the miracles started to happen.
that's great. I mean, I'm captivated by its, I don't know, I guess magic because I've been married. I was like we talked earlier before the show. I've been married for over 25 years, 3 kids. We're happily married. I mean, I met him since I was 16, but there's always room for improvement. And I just felt like once I read this book, there's so many things that I could improve and just change in the way I speak or the way that we do things. And, he's doing things that's outside his comfort zone. I'm doing the same thing, but we're doing it together to help each other out because we're partners and we want to be happy together and make life easier than just the regular day-to-day routine. It needs to be fun and playful and, you know, full of love and passion. So I feel like it's a great recipe. It's a great recipe for relationships. So I love it. Now, you've said that marriage counseling, I know I read it in your book too. You're not a huge fan, and you said that it really almost destroyed your marriage, and you've heard that other people can do the same thing. I mean, people have gotten divorces. I mean, there was plenty of examples that I saw in your book of couples who had gone to a marriage counselor and they were just that, the counselor said, "Oh, I think it's just time for a divorce." And they were about to get a divorce until they came upon your book and started following your method and changed everything around. I'm sure there's a lot of great marriage counselors out there,
Oh yeah.
but when is the time that you think you should seek that kind of help, or
Oh,
when I don't know, like what do you think?
oh gosh. Well, you're right. I mean, marriage counselors are good people and they mean well. So it's certainly nothing against them. I know for me, when I was going to marriage counseling, I was not there to work on myself. I was there so she could fix my husband. So total hypocrite, right? I was just there to be supportive of him changing, straightening himself up. And of course, the joke was on me because I was actually the one that had all the power. I'm thinking about another student who also went to marriage counseling. They started going out to marriage counseling as a couple, and then he didn't want to go. And so she started going by herself once a week. And as she tells the story, she'll say, "Yeah, I was complaining about Doug for an hour a week." And, nobody ever gets happier by complaining about your spouse for an hour a week. You're focused on the problems, you focus on what's wrong, and what you focus on increases. And so they were sleeping in separate beds, and they had been doing so for 6 months when she got her hands on one of my books and had that epiphany of like, oh my gosh, maybe I have something to do with this. So she decided she was going to experiment with some of the cheat phrases that are in that book. And so her husband came to her, and so they're having pretty much a Cold War, right? Lots of tension, no talking. And he came to her, like, I need you to tell me what you want me to do with the cell phone plan because we have to pick a new cell phone plan. And she was like the CFO of a big private school. So she really knew, finance stuff and that kind of thing. She would analyze things really well. And she'd been trying to help her husband do better with finances and stuff. And of course, she was having the same results I was having where he was distant. And so this time she used a new phrase. He said, "You got to tell me what you want me to do." And she just said, "Whatever you think." And he just looked at her funny, like, "No, what? Like, who
What?
are you?" Yeah. And then he was like, "No." He's like, "This is a trap. Like, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm going to do it. And then she's going to yell at me later." So he goes, "No, I really need you to tell me what to do with the cell phone plan. What do you want me to do?" And she said, she just kind of stuck to her guns. She said, "Whatever you think." And she added, "I trust you." Now, did she really trust him? Like, no, at the time she was kind of worried he was going to mess it up, but she decided it was worth it to just do this experiment to see. And so Doug went away and chose the cell phone plan. He did fine. And then that night, he put his hand on her shoulder And he said, "You were so nice today." And tears just rolled down her cheeks. They connected again. They slept in the same bed
Oh,
that very night. And she the next day she fired her marriage counselor and she started training with me, and she still gets tears in her eyes when she talks about how wonderful her marriage is to her dream husband, the man of her dreams, that she could have, how tragic it would have been if she had divorced him all those years ago. So this is like, that's a good 25 years ago. She's now a relationship coach, a certified, she's one of the best relationship coaches in the world, actually, too, because she got so inspired by the transformation that she got in her own marriage.
that is such a great story. It's such a heartwarming story. That just made me cry. I love it. Happily ever after story. I mean, so now is that the reason too when you were saying that you as a relationship coach, you don't meet with the husband, you just meet with the wives. And why is that?
Because women are the keepers of the relationship. I mean, I didn't believe it. I was so focused on equality and, like you said, being independent, and men and women are the same. And I just love they did a study at the University of Toronto where they found out. I'm glad you're sitting down for this, Pearl. Okay, because it's kind of shocking, but they found out that women are more emotional than men. All right, like, all right, it's like research money that's well spent, like, because we all know, like, of course we are. And so I think in some cases, in some ways, that's vilified that we have what I like to think of as emotional brilliance. And we have all these other gifts of the feminine too, right? Like pleasure. So we have the only organ on the human body that is strictly designed for our pleasure. That's its only function that we know of, is our pleasure. So female pleasure is pretty important. Therefore, feminine desire. So what I've noticed, I love. There's a quote from a movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where the mom says, "Yeah, the man's the head of the family, but the woman's the neck, and she can turn the head any way she wants."
I love that, and I love that movie.
I know, me too. I love that movie too, and it's so true. Like,
So true.
my husband is so like my happiness means so much to him. And I've asked thousands of men actually. I've asked them all this question. I'll say, "How important is it to you that your wife is happy?" And they all say the same thing, like thousands of them. They all say either like it's the most important thing or it's everything. In the UK, they say it's imperative, right? So it's very important to men. And I remember thinking like he doesn't care about my happiness at all. But that's because he couldn't care about my happiness because I was depriving him of oxygen. And by oxygen, I mean respect. I was
Respect.
so disrespectful to my husband that he didn't care. He couldn't, right? He couldn't breathe and it was funny because when I finally did learn how to express my desires in a way that inspired him, instead of just complaining or criticizing him, like he got right on it. So it was like that hero gene was still alive and well, even as long as I'd been suffocating him. And all I needed to do was know how to trigger it. And I think it's something I don't think most women know. In fact, it's so important to me, like this little formula for expressing your desires, that every woman learn this. I want to share it. I want to give out the formula actually. Because what happened for us is I had been trying to get him to do dishes. You and I were talking about dishes before the
Yes.
show. And I had tried, I felt like every which way. I said, okay, I cooked dinner, so you do the dishes, like this is fair. Or I would just say, you know what, you need to do the dishes. Or I would just beg him, I'm like, please just do the dishes. And none of it was working. He was like watching TV, turning up the volume to drown me out while I'm having a cow about the dishes over here. And so it was interesting when I finally, one day I just used the magic formula. I just said, I would love a clean kitchen. And do you know, he said, okay, I'll clean it. And he did. And that was over 25 years ago. He's been doing it ever since. Why? Because it makes his wife happy. So, so I feel like this formula, right? It's so important because I would say to him, like, John, this kitchen is a disaster. And I thought I was telling him what I desired, but I wasn't. He didn't know how to make me happy. All I could hear was the complaining. So the magic formula for expressing your desires in a way that inspires, and I feel like write this down if you are not driving right now, but it's I would love, and then just your final outcome. So I would love, and just the final outcome. It could be, I would love a glass of wine. I would love another baby. I would love to go on vacation. Or, I would love to, and you want to get maybe even specific about that final outcome. Like, I would love to go to Hawaii, or I would love to go skiing, or whatever it is. I would love a bigger house. And you are free to want anything in the world. And if you're like most women I know, we do want a lot of things, right? And that's good because that becomes the North Star for how your husband will navigate your whole relationship if he knows what it is you
That
want.
you
If you
want.
turn the head in that direction, then
Yes.
that's where you're
I mean,
going.
that is so true because so many times, how is it that we don't actually tell our husbands like what we want and whether it's as a gift, and then we get mad. Oh, you don't know what you want to, you don't know what I like. You're not, and it's like just tell him what you want, or if you want to go out or do something. They're not mind readers. You need to just be very straightforward. I would like to do this. I would really love it if we could do this. If you express it in a nice, natural way where you're giving, it's not demanding, but you're
Yeah,
setting your desire out there. And like you said, they really do want to make us happy. That's really their
they
ultimate goal. Like
do.
our happiness is like a reflection on them. So it works both ways, right?
It really does. And for the longest time, we used to have a big struggle around Valentine's Day for that very reason. Like, I'd be like, I would not say what I wanted. And the reason was, because I think I felt undeserving. I'm sure I did, actually. It felt too indulgent to say, I would love to go out to sushi on Valentine's Day, or I would love roses, because I didn't want to get ripped off by the, Valentine's Day restaurant and flower
Yes,
cartel. Okay. I just thought
yes, yes.
that's too expensive. And so I never did say what I wanted. And then I was just so upset. I'm like, he never does anything special for me on Valentine's Day, right? Even though I was really kind of signaling, like, don't spend any money on me. So sad when I think about it. Kind of embarrassing. Another indulgent desire to have a pool. And for a long time, I just couldn't really honor that desire. Like, I kind of just held it at arm's length. Like, yeah, I kind, yeah, I want a pool, right? I wasn't, but I wouldn't really own it. And the day I finally was like, yeah, I would love a pool. Well, all of a sudden, my husband's like moving heaven and earth and getting contractors, and I now have a backyard resort because he knew it would make me happy. And this is how men are, like, the world over. We just hear, especially in my position, I have such a wonderful perch to get to see the inside of so many marriages. And you see so many women's minds getting blown by, like, oh my gosh, I never thought he would, you know, uh, give me a brand new car. I just heard a couple of stories recently from coaches who both got brand new cars, even though, like, they thought that was the last thing their husband would ever spend money on, because it's like not financially responsible. And they are both now driving around in new cars because they honored that desire, which can be
Desire.
scary to do.
That's great. Those are great stories. So can you just tell us, I know that your book actually gives us very detailed about the magic recipe about these relationships. Well, what are the six intimacy skills?
Mm.
Just
Well,
briefly, what they are.
I mean, I wish I could explain them briefly. I want every woman to have them all, but it's sort of like just saying the word water doesn't quench your thirst, right? So if I just say it's this, like, I've found that it doesn't, it's not as effective. But let's just dive to them and
Okay.
just like try to get as much as possible. So the very first one, I had a lot of resistance to myself, I have to say. One of the things I was doing in my early marriage, because I was so unhappy with my husband and all the things he wasn't doing right, and then he was not, he was so rejecting that I was kind of just going around with my frowny face on all the time to let him know that I wasn't happy. And I felt that this was going to be my ticket to him changing. Like, this is how he's going to get the message that he's messing up and he's got to straighten up.
Did he just ignore you?
Oh,
I feel like
completely.
I feel like they don't see it. Like you can be there, even like they just They have selective seeing, selective hearing. They will not, but unless you just say it, right? Like you actually say, "This is why I'm sad." I could be pouting around all day long. I'm like, "Don't you see I'm sad?" He's
Yeah,
like, "No,
exactly.
I realize
Exactly. And he's like, and because it's such a high priority for men to make their wives happy, when I'm not happy, like he takes it really hard. Like he takes it very personally. And so,
Personal."
and if he can't fix it, and I'm kind of committed to my misery, which I was, then yeah, he just wanted to like, okay, I better just avoid that because it's painful to feel like you're failing, right, with your wife. So I didn't know this. So I was just going around with my frowny face. And one of the things I learned from these happily married women was that they were very devoted to making themselves happy. And so I thought, okay, and I'm really a big checklist person. Like I want to know if I'm doing something or not, right? Like if somebody says, "Oh, you have to love yourself." I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, does that mean I should hug myself? Like I just wanted like a checklist, right? So I thought, okay, I'm going to do 3 things a day to make myself happy, meaning just frivolous fun. So I'm not talking, not, like 8 hours of sleep and 5 fruits and vegetables and 30 minutes of cardio. It's not that. It's more like playing a game on my phone or like, having a glass of wine with a girlfriend, or I love to play volleyball. And okay, that is exercise, but that's not the point. The point is I feel like a kid at recess when I'm doing it. So I have a list of like 20 things all the time that I know will make me smile, that will delight me. And I look to do at least 3 things a day. I think my life has changed so much since then. I do all day long. I'm pretty much like self-care here, having fun and doing things that I love. But at the time, this was pretty revolutionary to just
Yeah.
make myself happy. And I realized, part of this process was finding out that only happy people have happy relationships. And the only person that can make me happy is me. So it was like my job, and I was totally not not doing my job of making myself happy. Now, this is another thing that brought up tremendous amounts of guilt because, like in the middle of a work day, like let's just say I want to, like what would make me feel happy is just go for a walk, or talk on the phone, or even watch my favorite show or something like that. Like it can bring up a lot of guilt. Like I really need to do things that are productive and just like help the environment or what, I have a whole song and dance about like what I should be doing. But the truth is, until I'm filled up, until I'm happy, I'm not really serving anyone because I'm showing up cranky and short with people. I'm not a good wife or a good team leader or colleague. I'm not good for much of
I mean,
anything.
Laura, just I completely resonate with this because I mean, part of all the like the empower coaching that I do, and everyone always asks me like, what is the key thing to be an empowered, woman? And I'm like, it's the number one thing you have to do is self-care. And
It
that's self
is.
for
It is.
yourself to make you happy, and then everything else will come along. So I completely understand what you're saying. And for the longest time, I think people still do. They think their happiness is the responsibility of either their spouse, their friends, their family, their kids. And so they put that, huge pressure on those outside people. And then they get upset that why are they never happy? Instead of looking within and saying, wait, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything for myself, but why am I putting that pressure on all these outside factors? So you got that completely down. That's so true.
And I think for me it made a big difference too, to like I knew I should be doing self-care, right? Like we all hear, oh yeah, you got to take care of yourself, and that seems like maybe it's a spa day or something
But
like
that's the
that.
thing.
But
Some people think self-care is just getting like that massage like every 6 months. You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's not going to do it.
Oh, it's fine,
That's
fine. Like who's got time for
temporarily.
that? Who's got money
Yeah.
for that? Who's got time for that? Like no.
Yeah.
But so now I just love the new definition for me. The indispensable first step for me to have a happy marriage, have the kind of marriage I want, is to make myself smile, to delight myself. So it's not
So
things I
that's the
think I
first
should
skill.
do. Yeah, it's things that I would love to do. Like a kid at recess is drawn to like the equipment, the play equipment or the ball or whatever.
Yes.
That's what I look for.
I mean, I think that's the key. When you're happy, then your household is happy, your husband is happy, and it just goes on. So,
Yeah. Yeah, mom is like the sun, right? And everybody else is
yes,
like all the planets revolving around
yes,
her.
so
Yeah,
true.
so
Very, very true. So what is one question we should never ask a man?
oh, it's so embarrassing. Okay, so what I used to do when my relationship was really on the rocks is I thought, well, everyone knows communication is the key to a good marriage, right? So I was like, and I was a communications major, not to brag, Pearl, but I knew like I'm a good communicator. I talk all the time, right? Maybe I even talk too much. And so I would sit him down on the couch and we would have these State of the Union addresses, right? Like about our union, where like, okay, let's talk about our relationship. And I thought this is how we're going to get to the intimacy that I was craving, right? And I'm going to ask him questions about his childhood. Like I have my like junior therapist hat on. Like we've been to lots of counseling, right? So I know he's supposed to talk about, so I would say like, "Oh, how do you feel?" And he would be like, "Hungry? I'm hungry. Yeah, that's it. I'm hungry."
It's like, I'm gonna make
And
a
like,
sandwich now.
yeah, I'm gonna make a sandwich now. Exactly. Or sometimes he would say, like, with my hands, how do you feel? With your hands. And I was like horrified. I'm like, oh my gosh, my my husband is emotionally stunted. This is gonna take like years of therapy to get him back to, like some normal, appropriate level of being aware of his feelings. Well, it turns out back to how women are more emotional than men, right? We're the ones with the emotional brilliance. And so asking him like how he feels is sort of like it's sort of like if shaking hands was rude in like he went to another country, right? And like shaking hands is like a rude thing. And you keep like sticking out your hand, like, hey, nice to meet you. And they react to you kind of weird. And you're like, why is this happening? Like in the male culture, they are not interested in talking about feelings. The person I should have been asking that question of was me. How do I feel? And what do I desire? Because that's something that our relationship depends on my emotional brilliance. On all women, the world depends on us using our emotional brilliance, our emotional intelligence. And I was trying to like outsource that to him. What did I want him to say right there? All I wanted him to say was like, I think you're the most beautiful, amazing, special woman in the whole world, and I love you more than anyone's loved anybody ever. And that never happened out of a State of the Union address, never once. They were just tense and tedious and stressful, and they would turn into blowups a lot. So the one question I would suggest never asking a man is, "How do you feel?" And instead, I would invite you to turn that question inward to
Towards
yourself
yourself.
all day long, right? All day long, I'm like, how am I feeling? What is that feeling, right? And I'm pretty good at knowing how I'm feeling and what I need. And sometimes it is like a physical feeling, like, wow, I need a break from work. I need a nap in the middle of the day. It's like an act of courage to go march yourself into bed in the middle of the day, right? When you're just too tired to cope, or
Just
I'm
constantly checking in with you.
yeah, like, oh gosh, I'm feeling sad about this, conflict with my sister or whatever. Like there,
Yes.
whatever it is. Like, so how do I feel? What do I need? Like, oh, I need to talk about that, or I need to grieve this change, or, whatever's happening. So, and for me, and if I can tell my husband, like, oh, I'm feeling frustrated about this challenge at work or whatever, and I want to solve it. Like that immediate, that's another great way to trigger his hero gene, to like borrow his brain when
They love to solve, right?
he does. And oh my gosh, has that ever helped me be so much more successful and unburdened, I think, by a lot of things that I consider stressful and hard. And he's like, no problem. I got this, right?
I
Because
got this. I'm gonna
we
take
are a
care
little
of
different. We are a
it.
little different, right?
Yes,
My husband and I are not built the same way.
right.
So,
We
like,
go back to the men from Mars and women from Venus, right? It's the same. It's a
yeah,
concept that we need to realize. And the other thing I feel like I have personally actually done it too. The dreaded phrase where I say, "Honey, we need to talk."
yeah.
And I can see like my husband's like eyes like pop out and he's like,
He's
"Oh
like,
God, like
oh
what's wrong?"
no,
And so you say that is a complete intimacy killer, correct?
killer,
And so
killer.
how can we approach those difficult conversations if something's been going on and I just want to get it off my chest? Like, to not, like, we should not use that sentence either. That phrase just really scares them because they're just like shocked by what you just said.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. You might as well be saying like you're in big trouble. I'm upset with you. I'd like to criticize you for a while. Like who wants to stick around for that conversation? Who wants to tune in? It's only human, right, to kind of tune out. And I do remember feeling terrified that if I wasn't going to have these, communication events on the sofa or whatever, like how were our problems ever going to get resolved?
Yes.
Because you think like we have to talk it out. There's no other way. Because otherwise, I'm just going to suffer forever. And let's not forget, like ever. So, but that hasn't turned out to be true at all. Like now my relationship it feels light and breezy and fun. And I feel like my husband treats me like, I don't know, like the supermodel he's been married to for 35 years. Like he's always taking my picture and
That's
making me
great.
laugh and stuff. Yeah. Like so, and we don't ever talk about our relationship anymore. But I feel like I'm like the queen. I get everything. And he's super attentive and just, yeah, affectionate, all the things. So for me, it was back to those two magical questions. How do I feel and what do I want? And then taking every complaint that I have is actually a lazy desire. It's a lazy desire. So if I'm complaining about something about my husband, it's because I haven't figured out what it is I would love. I just know what I don't want. And that's not very magnetizing, right? It's not very It's resistible. It's not irresistible. It's resistible. When we're complaining, criticizing, that really hurts the intimacy. But if I'm sticking to what I would love, that's totally different vibration, and that's when you can trigger his hero gene by saying what you would love. And I have an example. One of my coaches was telling this great story about how she's cleaning her kitchen and she's like, "Dang, I hate these countertops." But she's trained as a coach, so she knew like, oh my gosh, that's a complaint. And she's like, wait, I have to figure out what my desire is. And she asked herself what she wanted. She's like, oh, I would love new
You.
countertops. And so she started saying out loud to her husband, like, I would love new kitchen counters. And he was like, there's no, there's no money for that right now. And she's like, I know, I'm just dreaming. So there's not like a demand. It wasn't, she wasn't attached to it. She wasn't like, you have to get me new counters, right? She was
Yeah,
just
she wasn't being like condescending, like, this is a horrible kitchen. I hate this house. Yeah.
right. Yeah. And she wasn't complaining at all. She was just saying what she would love. So she just kind of kept that desire in that same way. Like, yeah, I'm just dreaming. It's sort of like, when little kids are like, I want a pony, right? It's like, yeah, okay, that she kind of held it in that same space. So a little while after that, it was like her cousin or something comes over and he's measuring the kitchen and she's like, oh my gosh, I think I'm getting new kitchen countertops. But she was wrong. She got a whole new kitchen. All of a sudden, the money appeared. Why? Because her husband knew this was going to make his wife happy. And so we hear stories like this all the time where, so instead of sitting him down on the couch and saying, I can't live like this with this kitchen and you need to do something about it, right? Or like, I'm just not happy with where we are, financially, or like all the things that, I mean, I embarrassingly used to say to my husband, she just
Just
wanted
the
new
little
counter.
things. I think I'm just gonna like walk around and be like, I would love this light bulb changed. It
Yeah,
would make
I would
right
love a new
instead
light
of
bulb.
just like,
Right.
I was saying, oh my gosh, like rolling my eyes and say, you still haven't changed this light bulb. I mean,
Yeah.
just that's one simple sentence. Just to
Yes.
rephrase that where you're not criticizing, you're not contradicting, you're not trying to teach him how to do it a certain way. He doesn't feel disrespected. He's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm serious. It would really actually make her happy. I'm gonna go and change it today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of my favorite things
Simple.
about the intimacy skills is having, women tell me so many fun stories about like, I can't believe it. I just said I would love this. And next thing you know, one woman, they wanted a baby. They were having trouble conceiving. Lots of trouble conceiving. And so she thought like, okay, well, I just want to adopt. I want to adopt. I want to be a mom. 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 And so she's like, I want to adopt. I want to adopt. I want to adopt. And if he wasn't like reacting so well to that.
Right.
You know, she got some coaching around it. And we discussed how like her desire to have a baby was great, was pure, was fine, but that there maybe some disrespect for her husband had kind of snuck into the mix and was kind of making it so he couldn't act on it, right? Since respect is like oxygen, it was almost as though like I want a baby no matter what, and like you're not giving me a baby, so like you're failing as a husband a little bit. That's kind of how they hear it.
Yeah.
She went home from work that day and said to him, hey, I just want to say, as much as I would love to have a baby, just having you as my family, like just being lucky enough to be your wife is just a dream come true. And I'm so grateful that I'm your wife. And just like her giving him that appreciation and that nod of like, yeah, I want a baby, but I haven't lost sight of the life, the good life that I have with
Right.
you. And then the very next day, he came home with adoption paperwork for them to start filling out so that they could get a baby. He wanted her to get a baby. So sometimes we'll think like, oh, my husband doesn't have that hero gene. He doesn't care. And really, the respect piece is in the way. And when we clean it up, boy,
Yes.
miracles abound.
It's everything. Yes. So true. You have this section in the book that you talk about things that are on his paper and your paper. So if you can kind of dive deeper into this concept and explain how it's going to create a healthier dynamic in our relationship.
Well, sure. I mean, some things are just squarely. It's my paper is where all my decisions live, right? It's like a kid in school, right? You had to keep your eyes on your own paper, right? You need to pay attention what that kid next to you is doing, what time I go to bed, or what I decide to wear, what I eat that day, or how I spend my time. All those decisions are on my paper, and he's got his own paper too. So some things are just squarely on his paper, like what he wears, or when he gets a haircut, or like when he's driving, like where he decides to park, right? All that stuff. And then there's parts where our papers might overlap, right? Like maybe finances, or house chores,
Kids.
right? Kids, of course. So you're like, well, this is, you can certainly make a case. Like, of course, I'm going to be respectful of things on his paper, but what if it's on my paper and his paper? So one of the stories I love about this, there's a mom who wanted her daughter to clean up her room. And so she had told the daughter like, "Hey, you got to put the clothes in the hamper if you want them to get washed. Otherwise, no clothes are going to get picked up off of your floor." And so she would look at the daughter's room and it was like just destroyed. And she's like, "I'm not going to get that laundry off the floor. Like she's going to feel her consequences." And then the husband would go in and zip around the room and pick up off the floor all the clothes for the daughter, and he would wash them. And she was like so mad. She's like, he's interfering with my relationship with my daughter and what I'm trying to teach her. Really, like the daughter and the father have their own relationship too. That's really not on her paper. So she could express her desires, like, and she did. She was like, I would love to teach our daughter how to be responsible for her putting her own laundry in the hamper. And the dad was like, yeah, I just want to get it all done. Like he had a different point of view, like fathers often do. And she ended up deciding, like, hey, this isn't worth the conflict that it was causing. So she started closing the door, and like the laundry was like nowhere on her paper. Her husband was taking care of it, right? And the daughter was doing whatever she was doing. Sometimes it can get complicated. Just like, where's my paper and where's someone else's paper? But she ended up feeling really peaceful that she could let that go. She ended up appreciating the peace that she felt in her household as a result of not criticizing the daughter and the husband on an interaction she was able to just completely step back from.
That's very powerful. That's, I think, very hard to do at times, right? When it involves the
Very hard.
children, to micromanage the disciplining between, and then you're like, well, you're ruining what I'm trying to teach. So that's very empowering for you to be able to be like, okay, this is you guys, this is on your paper. This is the way you're treating her. You're gonna have to deal with, you'll be doing her laundry until she's 50.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
gonna be your
yeah,
issue. It's not mine, right? Like you
yeah,
have to kind of think
yeah.
about it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it is. I think it is especially challenging with kids. I mean, all of this was so hard for me in the beginning, and still sometimes is, right? Like I still end up having to apologize to my husband for being disrespectful sometimes. I wish I was perfect. now, but as a mere mortal woman, I'll still go there. I remember long time after I started practicing the intimacy skills, John took me out to dinner at a swanky restaurant on Saturday night. And so it was it was just a packed out restaurant and the waiters are flying by and the bar is making all kinds of happy noises and we're having a nice time. And in the middle of it, he was telling me about his company. And in the middle of it, I said, something critical about one of his clients. Like I was trying to tell him, like, you shouldn't
Do
give that
this.
client good. Yeah, you do this instead of that. That's what I basically was saying. But I wasn't super accountable in that moment. And so all of a sudden it felt like the music stopped, the laughter stopped. Like he got
The
this look on
energy
his
change,
face.
right?
The energy changed. And I was like, huh. But I didn't really want to be accountable yet. So I was like, oh, I'm like, what I go, was that was that disrespectful just now? Like I didn't know, right? And he goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh." And then I was like, "Okay. Well, I didn't really want to, but I'm like, I apologize for being disrespectful when I criticized your client." And all of a sudden, like the music is back, the bar is laughing again, the waiters are flying by, and our nice time was back. Like the intimacy was not
Yes.
lost. I was able to recover it so quickly because I said these words that sounded crazy to me at first, like sawdust in my mouth. Like, who says I apologize for being disrespectful when I said whatever, or did whatever? But now I just love, they're like honey in my mouth now because I love how quickly I can get
And that's
back
where you
that
felt very empowered at that moment that you were
I
strong enough
was.
to realize it, acknowledge it, and actually act on it. And that takes a lot of courage and strength to be able, and be vulnerable, right? Because vulnerability is the key to actually be like, okay, I made a mistake. I'm really sorry. Respect is so important in a relationship. I mean, that is, I think that one of the number one things that I have learned from reading your book. I would love to talk to you more and more, but I really suggest my listeners to go out there, check out Laura's information, get her book. It's going to change your life. I really believe it. It's really magical. I honestly think as an empowered wife, if we embrace gratitude, even when things are not done the right way, when your husband helps around the house, actually appreciate the effort rather than focusing on how he differs from your approach. If he washed the dishes and let's say he didn't clean the counter, it's okay. You're going to appreciate the fact that he did. Gratitude and resentment cannot coexist. Choose gratitude instead. The way we communicate really matters. Your husband wants to be your hero, but he needs clear direction, expressing desires, not demands. This way, it invites cooperation and connection. Instead of saying, I don't want a messy house, or I'm really angry about this house, nobody helps me, reframe it. I love it when our house feels tidy and peaceful. Feminine energy thrives in expressing pure desire without control or manipulation because men do not want to be controlled. They want to be respected. Taking ownership of your challenges instead of blaming your spouse gives you the power to create real change. When you stop waiting for him to fix things and take responsibility for your happiness, you unlock new possibilities for growth and connection. Most importantly, your happiness is not your husband's job. It's actually yours. Your relationship transforms when you prioritize your well being, confidence, and joy. A woman who radiates self love sets the tone for how she's treated. When you show that you cherish yourself, others, including your husband, will follow suit. Laura, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, yeah, one thing I always want every woman to get the knowledge that I didn't have and when it made me so miserable about how to make her marriage magical. So we did something kind of special for the listeners of Female Fluence, and you can download the free Adored Wife Roadmap, get more about the 6 intimacy skills and some other goodies at lauradoyle.org/female fluence.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much. All the links will be in my show notes. Thank you again so much for being on Female Fluence.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Pearl. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for tuning in today to Female Fluence. Together we can influence and motivate other mind-like females. Your job is to feel alive, be in control, and always be true to your own self. Please don't forget to subscribe so you can continue feeling inspired. All the links and notes from this episode will be posted on my website, femalefluence.com. Don't forget to also follow me at Female Fluence on both Instagram and Facebook. Lastly, if you are in need of a woman empowerment life coach to help you identify the barriers that keep you from living the life you seek, please send an email to info@femalefluence.org. Remember, my friends, don't just exist, but live your life to the fullest. I'm your host, Pearl Mashur. Until we talk next time.